In this video, we're going to explore how we can use Excel tables to make the use of formulas a walk in the park. So over here, we have some raw data. There's some data related to orders. We have information right from the order ID all the way down to sales, quantity, and about and even the profit that we have achieved. That's good. So the thing about this data right now is that there is no intelligence in this data in the sense that it doesn't know that order ID is actually a header or a client ID is a header column, right? So the only thing it identifies that is just the first row. And we have just put a filter for the first row, right? So it's not identified that everything in order ID is actually these values. So it's not actually identifying the column as order ID. The column is still A, right? So we need to add some intelligence to the data. That's what we're going to do. So that's what Excel tables will initially help us. So let me just select the entire data here and select table. You just need to keep in mind, if you're creating a table, you need to ensure that you do not have any merged cells. So that will actually create a problem. So you need to avoid doing all of that and click on table. There you go. So now it gives me uh, the fixed range. So you can see with the dollar symbol as well. So that means it's a fixed range. So that means all the way from the first row all the way down to 9995, right? And it also asks me if the table has headers. Yes, it does. So we're going to identify that the first row is actually a header. So previously there wasn't that level of intelligence. Now we're going to have that intelligence here. So I'm going to click on OK. Perfect. So now you can already see that there is some level of formatting that has come. So if I want to go and change it, I could click anywhere on the table and you would now notice that there is a new tab that shows up which wasn't there before, right? So I could go in and select any design that is more appealing. I could go in and select from here. You could even create your own table style if that's something that you really want to spend time and do. But otherwise, you can keep to the basic one that you have. But another very important thing that you must do, which will make it easy for you to, refer to your tables, is to give it a unique name. So now it already has a unique name though, because it's the first time we are creating a table for this particular file. It has automatically given it a name called table one. But it's always best to give it a name that actually relates to the data that's contained in it. So let's call it orders. Perfect. That's exactly yeah, I mean, that's the most suited name for this, right? Perfect. Now, with that done, we are also going to understand a little bit more about tables. I'm going to go all the way down. Let's go all the way down. Okay. So as we go all the way down, you can see that the formatting is not beyond the last row. So even if I move over to the right, I can see that the formatting is not beyond the last column either. So it has actually defined the boundary of the table. And if you notice closely, there is also an icon here at the bottom uh, right corner. So that basically defines the boundary. So if I want to expand it, I could go in and manually expand it. That's something that I could do. Or else, even if a new data row gets added here, if a new data row gets added, let me just add a random row here. Let me just put the next number in the series. Let's do 5, whatever. There you go. You can already see that the formatting of the table has got implemented there. And you can also see that the boundary has expanded, right? So, but if you're going to put any values that is even one row away, it will not pick it up. So if I were to put in the next value here, and let's just type this in. Oh, so it doesn't pick it up. So it needs to be right next to it. Either, if you're adding a row, same thing when it comes to adding a column as well. So if you're adding a new column that needs to be part of the table, it needs to be either between or right after the last column. Perfect. So once that is sorted, let's go back up now. Okay. Now, in the next sheet, we're going to make use of this table to populate some aggregates. So the first thing I want to do is to find out the total number of orders. So if you look at this data right now, every row is actually an order. So if I want to actually find out all the orders, is basically trying to add up all the rows. So when I say add up all the rows, we are excluding this row. So we don't have to go and specify that, oh, exclude the first row. When we are working with tables, we don't need to go in and exclusively specify that. So let's go in and see exactly how this is going to work. I'll go into aggregates here. So there's this function called as rows. I'm going to use rows, and it asks me for the array. So in this case, the array is the name of the table. So I'll just put in orders. So as you can see here, the moment I start typing in orders, I can already see that it's showing up. Perfect. That's exactly what I want. So it makes writing of formulas very easy. I don't need to click on the other sheet and select any values. Perfect. That's sorted. So now I can see that the total number of rows have been fetched and it shows up rightly. Perfect. The next thing that I want to show is the quantity sold. Now, in terms of the quantity sold, we have this column here. Let's have a look at this column. There's this column called quantity, right? So we could add up or use the sum function to, calculate the sum of quantity, right? Yep, perfect. So we could do that. But now when I use sum, you know how the function works, right? If you work with sum, it basically asks for every number. So that means I need to go and select that entire column. I need to manually go and click. But that's not necessary. We already created a table, right? So we'll just type in orders. And then if I want to list any column within orders, all I need to do is open up a square bracket. Perfect. So initially it asks this row, but we are not in the same table right now. So we'll go and select that particular column. So that's quantity. So you can press the tab key on your keyboard to select it. So you don't need to type in the entire column name and close the square bracket. So whatever square bracket you open now, you're going to close it and close the round bracket for sum. So now even when we look at this formula, it becomes very easy to understand because we know, okay, this is the order quantity sum, right? Perfect. So it becomes very easy to write the formulas. So now I can actually copy the exact same thing here. Let me just copy these two and I'll just edit the formula. So now instead of some orders of quantity, I'm going to change this now to sales. And this is total profit. I will change this to profit. There you go. So this makes working with Excel tables a lot more exciting because you can provide your formulas very easily and you don't need to keep clicking on the alternate sheets to pick out any references because since it is properly named, it knows the table name and the corresponding column names very well. So it has that intelligence now to identify what that column name basically contains.